First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking each day as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you could never really know what's up next.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Braden Herrington here with Davie Portman, and this is Up Next. It is Sunday, May 25th. You may be listening to us in a podcast many days from now, maybe tomorrow morning. Maybe you were watching something else tonight, but that doesn't matter because no matter what, Up Next, Braden and Davie will always be your NXT friends.
Friends.
And we're live.
We are live on youtube.com/postwrestling. Hello, YouTube room. How we doing? Welcome. Just off the bat, this is an AEW Double or Nothing spoiler-free show. So we might not be looking at the comments as much because we're used to people trying to troll us on these things. But yes, we are going to be talking all about WWE Battleground. And we'll be talking a little bit about Double or Nothing, probably on the beginning of our Tuesday show up next.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to chat here. Maybe we'll try to finish before John and Wade can get on, but maybe you chose NXT tonight, then we're your friends here today. We are always your NXT friends. Dave, you mentioned Tuesdays. We go live right here at postwrestling.com and on the YouTube. 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time is where you can find us on Tuesdays. But we're also known as Poisonrana. And if you're not familiar, check us out on any of your social medias or podcast apps, because we do tons of different shows. We have a Patreon, and we got some crazy shows coming up, including The Champ is Here, episode 9, with Benno and Hamflet joining us to talk about the 10th reign of John Cena, plus movie reviews and so much more. So if you're new to us, definitely check us out and go to poisonrana.ca for all the links of everything that we do. But Tuesdays, we talk about NXT, but here we are on a Sunday pay-per-view. Now, Davey, how do you feel about Sunday pay-per-views now, huh? That they put you up against as a wrestling fan, you got to choose a show. And I think duty calls for us here tonight. I felt like the Squidward watching SpongeBob and Patrick have fun outside while I'm watching Sean Spears. But alas, we'll get into it. But I don't know. How did you feel about that? Did you have FOMO?
No. I mean, I don't know. There's things called DVRs. I mean, this is all online. Like, I don't have an issue with watching things separately. Yeah, it's possibly, I think, definitely the main event of Double or Nothing is something I'm very interested in. That I very much want to remain spoiler free for. And that would have taken my interest. But you know, we are your NXT people. I think we this is our job. This is the show we talk about, and we had to really talk about this show. So I enjoyed the show tonight as well. So it wasn't like, you know, if this was 2.0 era NXT and we're missing out, I think it would be a different story. But we were still treated to some pretty good graps on this show as well.
Absolutely. Definitely. There's some great stuff that we watched tonight. So I'm also going to try to avoid the comment section, but you know, it would be a great time with Davey and I, the mods not looking. Be a great time to give us a super chat here on the Post Wrestling YouTube, because we probably won't read it. So super chat away for the BDE. We're going to run down this NXT show, and there's a lot of stuff come out. I know John and Wade did their show about Saturday night's main event last night. I was going to watch it, and then I didn't, so I don't have any thoughts on it, but I know you said you checked it out. Was there anything quickly?
I mean, I think these Saturday night main events kind of fall somewhere between like a TV show and your pay-per-views. And that's exactly what I thought. There was a couple of big storyline developments with the return, and I thought relatively premature return of Bronson Reed, which was pretty surprising. I hadn't really seen any kind of rumors about that coming out. So I thought that was pretty cool. And joining with Seth and Borne and Paul Heyman. So now that unit kind of seems a bit complete. So I'm looking forward to where they're going from that. And then I guess the big news is the tag match that's been set up for Money in the Bank with Logan Paul teaming with John Cena to take on Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. I thought the show was fine. I think these I work every Saturday, so I've always watched these events after the fact, and I think I seem to have a much more pleasurable experience watching these after the fact than people watching it live, because there are a lot of commercials in these things. And to just watch it, like I probably watched it in about hour 15 this morning and was perfectly enjoyable. Nothing I'd necessarily write home about. I don't think any of the matches really stood out as being kind of exceptional, but you know, we got some story development and some interesting things coming out of it. So I had a pleasurable breakfast watching Saturday night's main event this morning.
You had a Sunday morning's main event,
yes,
with your eggs and brekkie and body slams. I think the Bronson Reed thing is interesting. I think he's someone that we definitely saw since the Seth feud. So maybe Seth took a few too many splashes, tsunamis, and realized, this guy's pretty powerful. I could use someone like that in kayfabe wise. So I think that's a cool. The third man, I'm not necessarily like, oh, that's like a game changer, but this is a big spot for him to be put in. I'm definitely interested in where we go. Like Seth eventually has to be champion. I think my disinterest is in the Logan Paul stuff with the Jey Uso stuff. Two characters I'm not necessarily very interested in right now. And then kind of as I've been saying, like the John Cena heel run for me has been a bit of a bust since Elimination Chamber. It was great, and everything else has been not necessarily hitting for me as a fan as much.
I didn't think the R-Truth. I mean, if you think we've only got these limited dates and you're putting together your dream matches of John Cena, I don't think R-Truth is one that really screams out. Even though you have the kind of, you know, R-Truth's been doing this bit for quite a while where he's John Cena's biggest fan and watched him growing up and all that. I don't think it necessarily needed an advertised match to achieve this goal. And I kind of think they missed it. I think doing the beatdown in that presser was just the wrong idea. I think it's something that could have elicited a huge reaction from a crowd. And similarly, I didn't think the sort of beatdown in this match was enough to really elicit too much support for R-Truth either, or sympathy. So it has been missing. I do feel this story. It's like, I know on our other show, we were talking about Buffy the other day, and it kind of feels like this John Cena is from an episode of Buffy or X-Files, and
Buffy? Robot Cena?
Exactly. We'll find the actual real John Cena in someone's
demon
basement, tied up and gagged, and this is the clone, this is the robot, this is the possessed John Cena. But it isn't really working for me.
Or it's Dalys. He wakes up. He just, it was a bad dream. Sorry, my bad.
But I do see this having the tag match at Money in the Bank kind of leads me to think that maybe we're doing Cena and Cody 2 at SummerSlam. And I know we were talking about the potential idea of Cena and Punk at SummerSlam with it being a huge show. Maybe the Punk match is like, it could even be Cena's last match, you know, because Punk is very much tied up in this Seth Rollins story too. And bring back to Bronson Reed, I think, you know, you were saying, so Seth took too many splashes, but think it was kind of Punk that caused Bronson's injury. So you could be like Seth being like, I know we've had our past, but you hate Punk. He took you out of action when you were at your like peak, and I hate Punk. So that kind of makes sense. But I guess it's Cody and Cena at SummerSlam. And the question is, would they pull the plug on this Cena reign as early as that to just get him back to being a babyface and get the rest of the run? I wonder if they'll press abort early on this Cena reign, because it isn't really working right now. And it's a shame, because I think a lot of us want it to. Like with the initial turn, we're like, like this is something we've wanted for so long, but it really hasn't clicked for me so far.
Yeah. It's not necessarily hitting for me, and I can't say I'm interested in the tag match. Adding Logan Paul in this last Time Is Now tour for John Cena is baffling. I would go to the Punk match, but if we go to Cena Cody 2, then that does make me assume that Punk would be the last final match for John Cena, and I'm sure that would be a big match.
And that would be a great last match, you know. I think that would be perfect.
So, you know, since Cena maybe said the last time is now, and then maybe that wasn't his last WrestleMania. Maybe he's going to do Vegas one more time, right? Maybe they change plans and they stick with John Cena wrestling again at WrestleMania in Vegas just one more time, since it looks like that's where WrestleMania is going to be anyways. So we haven't necessarily talked about that, but I know you're still steaming. I'm sure you got a refund on your Airbnb for New Orleans.
I did, yes. Yeah.
Okay. At least there's that. At least you got your refund. But I feel for anybody who maybe booked themselves a really premature flight or uncancelable thing. But
and especially some of these promotions that are running, I'm sure as soon as it was announced, your GCWs and smaller companies in the world would have booked venues, and they may not be refundable. And these companies, like, they very much rely on ticket sales to even break even. Most of them are running at a loss as it is anyway. So that's a real shame. And it's not really a valid reason to be like, well, the big show's not in town. It's your nothing to do with that company. So they're definitely the people I feel for. So yeah, shitty. And also just New Orleans is such a great city. It's such a great host city as well. So I know they've said sometime down the line, we know Indianapolis are owed a Mania as well. But the reports seem like for the time being, it's Vegas, just because it makes so much sense. And when you think about
no, it makes so much money.
Well, yeah, but this is something we're seeing now with TKO. It is a publicly traded company, and essentially the shareholders are the most important things over the fans or anything. And we're seeing that with the Vince lawsuit right now. It's, hey, you didn't scout out all the possible options, and you could have made us shareholders a lot more money if you sold to a Saudi or whoever. And I guess this is kind of part of it. It's like, yeah, it's great for the fans to move cities every year, but Vegas, I believe I heard something like basically Vegas covered the cost for everything. So basically anything WWE made was pure profit.
Yeah, and look at how much money they made from WrestleMania this year. Like we joked, like, we've been covering NXT, and obviously we cover where they do the shows in the PC, and even before that, Full Sail and everything. But as soon as the TKO stuff all happened, and then specifically when we did a show where they did an NXT from the UFC Apex, that weird little venue. And that's when alarm bells for us, we were like, hey, how soon till they just move? They're going to pack up from Florida. What are the property taxes like in Nevada? I'm sure they're just like Florida. So maybe they'll pack up, and the TKO will be the hub. And I could see TKO, WWE fucking Colonel Tom Parkering this shit with a Vegas residency of WrestleMania for at least maybe 2 more years. Like, that is crazy to me, but it makes sense, and it all goes back to the dollar. But it's just a bit of a bummer. Like,
I think as well, like we've seen with your WWE's, AEW's, even TNA's in the past, when it's down, that's when you go to Europe and you do a show there. Like, TNA was like dying in the US, and then they go to the UK and they're selling out arenas because people are hungry for it. And I think maybe while WWE's hot right now, they can get away with running Vegas back to back. And maybe when it starts to be on the decline, and we know it's wrestling, it has peaks and valleys. It always has. When it goes on the decline, that's when you move into another market and do your New Orleans or Indianapolis or whatever. And there's a hunger from fans being like, I did Vegas the last 2 years. I don't really want to go back there, but I'll go to this city now. So we'll see. But it is a bummer. I was very much looking forward. Not that you have to go to New Orleans just for WrestleMania. I know Money in the Bank has been announced there. Like, it's Money in the Bank's a big
that
show,
hostage video, Triple H,
that
video he recorded where someone had a gun behind the camera. Like, say it, say the thing. Yes, we're very excited that if you've been living under a rock, we're coming back to. It's like, oh, dude, yeah. He knew he was pissed. The Rock just had to make it such a big deal on that one SmackDown, and then they had to go back on it. They pulling out like this John Cena heel run. They're pulling out.
Rock's had a habit of this, as he's starting things and then just fucking off.
Yeah. WWE pulling out.
But yeah, we can still, we don't have to go to Mania to go to New Orleans. We can figure something out down the line. And
I will say I know that we're way ahead of ourselves. I'm probably not going to go to Vegas for a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I've been to Vegas before.
So.
It's super fun. I just don't really necessarily have much interest. But if you're listening to this, and maybe I know we weren't the AEW people tonight, but Davie and I will be going to All in Texas. And if there is any Texans out there or anybody traveling in for the show, we will perhaps be setting up some sort of, little meetup or at a bar or something like that down in Texas. So bring your cowboy hats and your guns, and maybe not one of those things, but we'll have some fun. And do follow us if you haven't already, because we do talk about a whole lot of other stuff. We usually go live on Sundays during the afternoon where we talk all about the other wrestling. And like briefly today, I saw also stuff for this kind of, I guess, is up our alley. The Worlds Collide show, which kind of started off as NXT and AAA, now seems it's mixing in some of the main roster stuff. And Vikingo versus Chad Gable is announced as the main event of this show, which sounds awesome. I'm sure people are pretty familiar with Vikingo. If you're not, you should definitely check out his stuff. Obviously, AEW did the stuff with Kenny Omega, and I'm sure we're going to get a similar kind of thing where if you're not familiar with this guy's game, you definitely going to be. You will after this match, and Gable is the perfect opponent.
Do you think it's odd that they've announced Gable and not El Grande Americano?
Yeah, I was wondering why that was the pick. So maybe there's a reason for that.
Do you see El Grande Americano having another match on this show?
That would be pretty funny. Yeah. Or someone dressed as El Grande helps him win the match. But I would kind of give it to...
You could always have him in like a 6-man tag or something where he really doesn't have to do much, but just to push the idea that maybe these are two different people could be fun.
So Vikingo was someone I figured the Javon Evans match would go to. So my next guess is Mr. Iguana versus Javon Evans at Worlds Collide. We need it. We need to see the hops from both those guys. Also, we will talk about some of the talent featured on the show, including Tormenta, who maybe you're someone like me who watches Women of Wrestling, and Tormenta is featured wrestler on that show quite a lot, actually. So it's kind of now this show, it could potentially have talent technically on the show too. So worlds are really colliding here, but I'm very excited to see some cool wrestling. As much as there's stuff in WWE right now that I just feel is a little boring, I guess, to be blunt, that then they bring a show like this that definitely has my interest. And we love our Triple Mania. I'm just interested
how it's going to look. Is it going to look like a WWE show? Are they going to try and maybe adopt more of the AAA look for this show? I'm super excited. It is in LA though, this one, isn't it? Right. I'm getting confused. AEW is doing the Mexico
this will be the day where it's Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank in the same day. That's a whole lot of wrestling, and that's only in a few weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Right? So wrestling never stops. Never stops.
We are your NXT friends, but as you mentioned, we do have a Patreon, but we also have a free feed, usually on Sundays when it's not a pay-per-view weekend. We go live around 2:00, and we talk about everything else in the world of wrestling. We give a lot of thoughts on AEW. We talk about some other stuff going on in Japan, in even TNA sometimes, or some indie shows we've gone to, as well as maybe documentaries we've caught, like Dark Side of the Ring, stuff going on backstage, lawsuits, the like. We talk about that usually in around 2 hours every Sunday. We'll be definitely doing a show that Sunday, giving our thoughts on both Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. But yeah, so go and check that out. We also sometimes throw up some stuff for free. So if you're contemplating taking the dive on our Patreon, we do have past movie reviews. We do a lot of kind of wrestler profiles called Best Match Ever, where we're talking about the best matches of their career. We've got a bunch of different stuff you can go back and check out on there for free. And if you like what you listen to, sign up for just $5 per month on patreon.com/Poisonrana.
Yes, we were thinking of doing in a few weeks leading up to Worlds Collide, the original Worlds Collide AAA Super Show, which I do believe our boy Sino has found on YouTube for free. So I think we're going to do some lucha. We have reviewed Triple Manias in the past, as well as a Best Match Ever Triple Mania, to really get caught up on your Triple Manias and AAA wrestling if you're not super familiar, but very cool. WWE changing things up, buying AAA, and interested to see where we go. Hopefully no Alberto Del Rio on this show, but he hasn't been brought up.
I don't think he was on the poster, was he?
They did book a match between Vikingo and him for the title, which makes me believe
it's going to be Chad versus Vikingo for that title, isn't it?
For the title. Yeah, exactly. So check us out.
And Chad will win.
Yeah, and then give it to Grande, so he'll be the champion. And then he defends it in Arena Mexico, or is that CMLL? Like they'll do a PLE in Mexico.
It's like a full-on lucha summer, isn't it? In wrestling, there's so much going on. It's definitely like finding it hard to keep my head around like what shows are going on. When this weekend especially was just ridiculous. We had a TNA show just in town as well, and all that. There was a whole lot of wrestling going on.
Yeah, I passed by the CAA Center in Brampton. I waved to Brampton, but I went to an indie show in Kitchener. Shout out Off the Rope Studios. I had one hell of a time at the Kitchener Odd. There was a lot of people there, and it was a charity show for Kids Ability, and they put on a hell of a show, including one of my new favorite gimmicks. You know, the Thunderstein, the guy who's like the salesman, he was there and he was great as well.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen him at the North shows here in Toronto. But Nanny the Bad Granny is my 2025 gimmick of the year. Soon, like this woman comes out with a walker in her entrance and then actually wrestles. And I don't want to give away, but a Depends comes into play in a battle royal gauntlet that absolutely blew my mind. So support your local independent wrestling, and that's what I was doing in Kitchener, Ontario. But we like to support local independents and especially Canadian wrestling companies. So shout out Off the Rope Studios. And if you're in the Toronto area, we do throw different parties and stuff, but you will definitely find us at all our local independents. I mentioned Northern Crown and obviously our boys at Demand Lucha. So again, support indie while you can. So that's why I liked the Sunday pay-per-view, because I was still able to make it to all the other wrestling.
It works so much better for me. I don't have to miss my
Sunday
do it.
Sunday pay-per-view gang. Even if you got Monday work in the morning, who cares? Sunday pay-per-view gang. Even when wrestling versus wrestling, and that's what we had to do today. I was very hyped for some of the stuff with that AEW is cooking with right now. Really looking forward to All In a little while. So as we're talking, the pay-per-view is still going on probably for another 6 hours, but we're going to talk about what we watched tonight. And love is a battleground. And we went to Tampa. Well, we didn't actually, but from our living room couches, we went to Tampa to watch WWE Battleground. Yes, they're really pushing this WWE instead of NXT, but I guess it makes sense. It's still owned by WWE. So I get it. Also, keep those super chats coming, guys. We're not going to look at them at all. So keep them coming, and please appreciate it, because we're not going to look at it. You will not spoil anything from Double or Nothing. I'm not going to look at my chat. I'm going to Ted Mosby this thing. No one's spoiling anything. And then you know what's going to happen? I'm going to go put this show up after we're done recording, and it's going to be a tweet from Post Wrestling that's going to.
I've already muted everything. I've turned off
always
all my
John.
Notifications. It's always the title of the podcast or something just shows up in my feed. Fuck. Like you're like,
I'm never gonna forget. I woke up the day of Kenny Okada, the Dominion, like the long one,
the 70-minute one.
I woke up like I avoided everything, and like my Twitter thing popped up like Kenny Omega defeats Kazuchika Okada to win. I'm like, for fuck's sake.
For me, it's like I did really well with SNME today, like not seeing a thing about it. Like when I'm thinking, I can avoid stuff, but it's when you realize how habitual you are to just flick on your phone and just scroll through something, and then a photo pops up and you're like, fuck. So trying my best. I've got to go through a whole day of work tomorrow as well before I can probably finish it. But well, I think let's get on to NXT. I'm sure, and hopefully get out of here just in time for John and Wei to come on as well. So no crossover. But yes, it's NXT Battleground from May 25th, 2025, live from the Youngling Center in Tampa, Florida. Do you like Youngling?
I thought for some reason he's like younglings, like Star Wars, like he's killing younglings. But I feel like if it's younglings, I could definitely kill a few Yinglings, but not younglings. But yeah, I definitely did a double take of that venue.
And we kick things off right away with Sol Ruca versus Kelani Jordynne for the NXT Women's North American title. And we were very lucky enough to see the first meeting of these two. Was it NXT Heatwave back
here in
last
Toronto.
year, which was a great match. So was excited to see how this will happen a year on. And it starts very quick, both running the ropes. They're doing sort of the classic drop-down leapfrog stuff, but with a bit of a twist where they're flipping over each other, they're dropping into the splits.
Osprey Ricochet type stuff, yeah.
Yeah, look very cool. And then Sol drops Kelani with an STF, and then follows up with a delayed vertical suplex into a standing moonsault. And now they're just rolling back and forth, trading pins, and Kelani delivers this beautiful Northern Light suplex, followed by a half Boston Crab. Now, it's worth noting that Kelani, you could have told me this was Halloween and that she was cosplaying as Lola Vice, because she looked very like Lola Vice here with the kind of pink,
the boxer
gear,
braids,
but the braids as well. And here kind of adapting and adding some sort of submissions as well to her game, which
I could see
a new thing from Kelani.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, she was doing a lot more submissions and kind of switching up. We've seen like she's very like aerial and copies a lot of like RVD stuff as well, but she definitely had a completely different look, even from this week where we were talking about on Tuesday, where she had her hair like in like the fro, which looked awesome. And then here also the hair looked pretty cool with the pink braids and stuff, but she's been killing it with the gear. Also, Sol Ruca, the only one who took the pay-per-view name Battleground into her gear thoughts, because she was the only one who came dressed for war with the like camo gear and a little bit of the like face paint. So very Cadet Kelly like here. I like that.
We normally have a little bit more of that on NXT, but there wasn't much this time.
I see you, Sol. I respect it. I respect both of them. Yeah, but this was like for the first few seconds of this match, it was really going back and forth with all the cool counters. It was really cool.
As Kelani's on the top rope, Sol leaps up to the top, very kind of Kurt Angle, LA Knight-esque, but hits something I've not really seen before, an Avalanche X Factor, which
crazy
awesome.
You know what's even like more insane is this was like an Avalanche springboard X Factor, but keep in mind Sol Ruca is doing this in Vans. She is basically wearing skateboard shoes. How does that make it better or worse? I don't know.
They worry me. I always look at them, and you know, these ones she's wearing has the long laces wrapped around her leg. I'm pretty sure they weren't double knotted.
That's a Final Destination.
Her footwear just like worries me whenever I'm watching her. But
I don't know, like it's crazy that she maybe she wears Vans for a reason, like maybe not just because like her character is the cool like surfer skater girl, but maybe it is good because she wrestles like pretty impressive in them. But yeah, that spot was nuts.
Kelani hits a springboard moonsault to the floor, taking out Sol, and then Sol does kind of the Sasuke special, the cartwheel and moonsault over the top rope, which got a huge reaction from this crowd. And follows it up with dropping the dime, the springboard splash, but it's only a 2 count. Kelani comes back with her version of the 5-star frog splash, but only a 2 count. And now they're both fighting on the top of the turnbuckle again. And Kelani goes for a Avalanche Poisonrana, but Sol lands on her feet and follows up with a spear taken from her tag team partner, Zarya. And now the crowd are just going wild with "This is awesome" chants. There's an Avalanche Spanish fly from Kelani, but Sol kicks out. And now they start trading strikes. And Kelani counters with this stomp. Kelani goes for the one-of-a-kind moonsault. And that's where Zarya interferes and pulls Sol out of the way, causing Kelani to just eat shit here. And now Sol is looking all confused. Like, what did you do? As the ref is sending Zarya to the back and getting a bit of a heel reaction from the crowd here with a na way goodbye chants. And as Sol is watching on as her partner's leaving, Kelani follows up with a baseball slide to the back of the neck, and they rolls her back in the ring. They're going counter for counter. Soul goes for the Soul Snatcher, but Kelani grabs the ankle to stop it. But then Soul goes right to the top rope and hits this modified Soul Snatcher, almost like a
Super Soul Snatcher.
Yeah, like an inverted shooting star into the Soul Snatcher here. Looked awesome. And Soul Ruca wins the match in 12 minutes, 59 seconds, retaining the NXT Women's North American Championship.
Yeah, surf's up for sure. Like I can't even think of how you could think of something like this. Like I can't even in my brain figure out how you do this. But like, yeah, almost doing a reverse shooting star off the top to then hit Kelani with the cutter, like a super Soul Snatcher. Definitely a move we'll see more of here. But if the Soul Snatcher wasn't impressive enough, now she's doing it off the top rope, which is crazy. But both these women really went out there, and you know, last year at Heatwave, a lot of people were saying that they really liked the chemistry these two had, and there were people comparing them to a lot of the like early Ricochet Ospreay encounters where there was like, you know, counters and backflips and things like that. And I think they took this one to a whole other level. They started with that kind of stuff, but then, you know, there was submissions, and then there was some really crazy stuff, the Spanish flies and the frog splashes, and then again that Soul Snatcher. We love a good Poisonrana, especially off the top, as Vic Joseph is like, not a Poisonrana. Yes, two Poisonranas. Love this match. I honestly really thought it, like, I didn't expect them to start with this one, but it really hit just like the Heatwave one, if not even more. So maybe one day we'll have to go see the other one, because it was Kelani as the champ retaining at Heatwave, and here it's Soul retaining at Battleground. But yeah, a great match that put me in a good mood for this show.
Yeah, I'm someone who did enjoy their first match. I know some of the criticisms was like it felt very like rehearsed, choreographed, and that sort of thing.
Sure.
For me,
yeah.
I'm like, I would much rather see people kind of attempting this, and the downside it being looking a little choreographed than, you know, headlock class. So I enjoyed it. We were there in person. I thought it was great. I feel you can see that a year has gone on, because I think there was they were still doing the cool spots, but it didn't feel quite as choreographed this time round. It felt competitive. It felt like a wrestling match. And I like that they tried to mix it up and not just do the flashy stuff, but had some actual wrestling in there as well. I think these two, once you move the crop up of, you know, Stephanie and Jordynne Grace, these two will be fighting for the NXT women's title down the line. Like, I see them as career rivals, I think, and they should kind of keep on going back to this rivalry. And I think we still haven't completely turned Kelani yet. It's more that she's had a bit of a bad attitude, but she's not necessarily a heel. But I think once you eventually do fully turn her heel and you can have another match with a bit more venom behind it, I'd be looking forward to seeing that. But I definitely see these two being right at the top of the card very, very soon.
Yeah, if not, like, you could put these two on the main roster very soon. Like, they've definitely already evolved in that 1 year since that heat wave, but both definitely on a trajectory of like being good stars here in NXT. And then you could put them as women's champ here. But again, like, I think they'll do really well on the main roster. It always like is interesting whenever a star is in NXT and like they're on TV, they're on PLEs, people watch them, but it isn't really until you make some sort of statement or appearance on the main roster that like the whole kind of, you know, universe, if you will, the sphere of fans like finally see you. So once you see that Soul Snatcher on a Raw or a SmackDown, like people are going to go nuts. Like, you know, people went nuts when we got the Penta Walk, which people were doing for years anyways. But like once you see a Soul Snatcher, people are like, wait, what is that? So I thought the women really stepped it up on this show, but Soul and Kelani, I would definitely watch them do it again and again. And if they've improved this much in a year, definitely can't wait to see where we go with that. And I do want to get to that Zarya match. I do think eventually Zarya versus Soul will be a bit of a banger too, when that turn has to happen eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Great match. You said the word evolved there, and it has been announced that Evolution is coming up pretty soon. I imagine it would involve some NXT talent, you would think. And I think this time round, I think we just had the Mae Young Classic final, if I remember right, last time. And think, did we have an NXT women's title match? I can't remember, but I would imagine you'd have at least 2, maybe even 3 NXT matches on that show.
Absolutely.
They haven't announced a date for Great American Bash, so I wonder if that is just a Tuesday TV special that they're doing. But I think that sounds great. I think I'd like to see some maybe interbrand tag match kind of thing with, all 3 brands maybe would be fun. But I think having these 2 on that show would make a whole lot of sense.
So Evolution 2 is it's the Sunday, the July 13th, because there's a Saturday night's main event that is the same day as All In, right? So if you're asking when is Great American Bash, just look at whenever there's an AEW pay-per-view, and they'll just put
my head there. I've lost it. I can't keep up with what's on what, and now you're having 2 shows in a day by the same. One in the afternoon, one in the evening. But yeah.
I also saw, I'm not sure if it was some people on Twitter were talking about how at the same time, on the same day, across the street on the 13th is a Beyonce stadium concert.
Jeez.
The same day as Evolution. So that's quite a tough spot there, but I'm sure they'll still have interest.
I don't think there's a whole lot of crossover though between WWE and Beyonce. Like there are going to be people, but I'm trying to get at,
be
a whole lot of crossover.
The Beyonce concert should end or start early or late, depending, and we get a run-in from Beyonce at Evolution to help someone wing or sing
would
someone out.
Beyonce play out? Who do you see?
Yeah,
Beyonce?
who like what Crazy
Beyonce
in Love?
and Bianca, that kind of thing. Yeah,
there's Bianca, or who has like, I'm trying to think of, like Halo would be a great song by Beyonce for an entrance music. Her music really doesn't fit wrestling, to be honest, but there's been worse in wrestling being used. But yeah, pretty cool that Evolution 2 is announced, and would definitely be worth checking out, because I do imagine NXT women will be all over that show, rightfully so.
We'll probably be watching that on the bus journey from
right. Yeah, we'll be coming home. Yeah, we'll definitely be watching that a little later, but we'll definitely talk about it when it comes down to it. But super cool that they're doing it, and I do expect NXT to be part of it.
We get a video from the Culling, who it's their classic kind of sat in their room, their dark room, and they say, our moment has arrived. Sean Spears says, it's the first time we're teaming together, and it's the first time PLE for Nico Vance. And Brooks has memories of working PLEs, but it's been a while. And I'll be leading, but I will be leaning on you both. And Hank, Tank, and Briggs pose a formidable challenge, but we are the Culling and have an opportunity to be victorious. Nico says that it's his first match and will smash through 3 brick walls if he has to and have his arm raised. Brooks says he was hanging out with the wrong people before, and that's why he was lost. And he wasn't focusing on what was right in front of him. But these 3 people are true friends. Izzy says that it's time to close the door of the past by casting doubt in Josh Briggs and let Hank and Tank know that we're coming for their title. Purge the weak and slaughter the feeble. Do whatever it takes.
Feeble. Who talks like this? The learning chair guys, this Culling family, the Cullins, not necessarily hitting for me when, like, I know that it's getting these people on TV, but I think the characters or whatever of like the using these words and being all Bond villain, but like it's not Bond villain. It's more like a B-C level Tubi like movie. Like these, no one speaks like this. And in wrestling, I don't know, have we not moved on from just like talking like I really don't like this group. I like the people and the talent, but I don't see where this group could go if this is the gimmick. What is the gimmick? Yeah, we attack the feeble. We are culling the... No, stop it. Just stop it.
It's very just going through the wrestling tropes book and just picking this group for these guys.
It doesn't do anything for me.
No. We then see, and my autocorrect has absolutely killed this, but the 2 AAA female wrestlers, Tormenta and was it Dalys, or has my correct?
It was spelled on the marquee Dalys, and like apologies, but they did pronounce it a different way. So I don't want to say
Dalys.
Dalys, yeah, not dialysis, but Dalys, I think it was. But yes, this Tormenta right away. This was shocking for me, Davie. I'd mentioned I'm an avid Women of Wrestling viewer, and Tormenta been someone they've been really focusing on. But here she is, unmasked. It
is she normally masked?
I'm like, whoa, guys, wait, are you breaking? Like, what are you doing? This is ruining the whole Women of Wrestling illusion. Now, I'm aware there are multiple Tormentas. In fact, we go to lucha shows. We're pretty familiar. But however, I noticed that like this look, even with the mask, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is her. So
haven't we had a different Tormenta at Demand Lucha, right?
We've seen a few. Like the name has been like used and stuff like that.
This is Chik Tormenta or Chik Tormenta.
Yeah, I watch her on WoW. She's been a lot of fun. So I think the Worlds Collide match could be her versus Stephanie Vaquer. Kind of jumping ahead of ourselves here, but definitely popped me and shocked me that she was unmasked here on WoW. But next WoW World Champ Tormenta, and then bring the title to NXT, and we'll get a real Worlds Collide show. But yeah, cool that they're trying to do this like crossover of AAA and everything. And I guess we'll see down the line what they're kind of going to end up doing. Will we see more of these characters be on Tuesday on NXT? Will we see them on the main roster with some of that like kind of synergy there? But pretty cool.
So yes, Ava just kind of bringing them in, introducing them, and yeah, I very much imagine we'll see them involved with Vaquer at Worlds Collide. We then see Mike Santana, who is backstage, and he obviously being in TNA and has had quite a few interactions with both Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. He's kind of calling his shot that he'll be challenging whoever wins this match. He says it's taken him 16 years to walk through the doors at WWE, and he's ecstatic. And he's made it very clear he's coming for the TNA champion, so he'll be watching the main. And if you don't know who I am a loud and proud Boricua from the Bronx, and I'll be taking on the winner and be next TNA champion. And this is where the no quarter catch crew, sans Myles Borne, come in. And Dempsey is just a dick to Santana. He says he doesn't like these outsiders coming in, and it's more TNA talent. And Santana just goes, look, we all know time is money, so if we got a problem, what are we going to do about it? However, Tavion Heights steps in and is pretty friendly with Santana and says, look, we all just want an opportunity here, and I'm calling my opportunity. How about we have a match this Tuesday? And Santana agrees to it. And he says, look, he showed me respect, unlike Dempsey. So the match is on, and we're still teasing friction between Dempsey and the rest of NQCC. But your favorite, Mike Santana, going to be on NXT.
You know, I'm glad you recapped it because I was distracted during this whole segment. Because if you looked in the background, Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley and JC Jane doing the absolute worst pantomime I've seen in years, because who talks like that, but like that while talking and slapping their hands, being super over dramatic. I know it's wrestling, but it was very funny. And I just kept focusing on this and realized, oh, wait, I'm missing a whole promo here between Tavion. But I think that's pretty cool. You know, Santana breaking away from AEW with Proud and Powerful, like, was a bold move. And you could tell it was something he really wanted to do. And I'm not necessarily someone who watches a lot of TNA, so I can't necessarily say I've watched so much of him since his time in AEW. But something I have said multiple times is I think he would do great in NXT. It's a bit like a fresh coat of paint. It's a whole new like playground. It's a whole new cast of characters. And I think this is a great first step. I do imagine this is involving the TNA world title. And if I'm TNA, I would probably put some focus on Santana. It seems like he's a well-liked guy. It seems like he really puts the work in. So why not like have this guy as the one you put everything behind to see if it can work? And he really wants it. And I think it's pretty cool that he mentioned, like, even though he's not wrestling on this show, but on Tuesday, it's taken me 16 years. Like he didn't have to say that, but he wanted to, clearly, because it's a big deal for him, I'm sure. So, he's not necessarily done a whole lot since his tag team run and everything, but I think this is a good first step to see. Not my favorite Santana. Shout out Carlos, shout out Rob Thomas, but I'm willing to see where this goes. And I'd imagine he becomes TNA champion in the near future.
Yeah. Whether that's going to be like an NXT match with him and Trick Williams at the next PLE, or whether it happens on one of the TNA pay-per-views, we don't know.
But again, you're missing the point here, Davie. What is happening with Fatal Influence? What is going? Are they done? Are they broken up? What is going to happen? Because I just was focused on these two just talking like this in each other's faces. So, and then I guess another question you would ask naturally is, where's Jasmine Nix in this whole thing?
Where is Jasmine Nix? I don't know.
Nobody knows.
If anyone's seen her, let us know, because it's been a while.
No, I said a few weeks ago, maybe she's at Disney World, and then now the internet wrestling world is saying, yeah, maybe she was doing things at Disney World. I don't know, something about her boyfriend. People are saying that he was doing shitty videos at Disney World, and she was involved. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
so she's on punishment. Is that it?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why they're arguing. They're like, where did you leave Jasmine? I have not seen Jasmine. I told you to look after Jasmine. No, I told you to look after Jasmine. Yeah. She's just lost somewhere. Couldn't find Tampa. We go to our next match, and it's Hank, Tank, and Josh Briggs taking on the Culling. This is Sean Spears, Nico Vance, and Brooks Jensen. Hank and Tank go for the honk splash, but Nico rolls right out the ring. Hank and Tank then hit tandem suicide dives as Briggs leaps off the apron with a pounce to Spears, which this will look pretty fun. Just a nice chaotic start to this match.
Yeah.
Nico Irish whips Hank into the ring post, and Hank just takes it head first. This looked pretty great. We see a lot of ring post spots in wrestling, but I thought he just cracked his head on this post. It looked
Did
awesome.
No one go over that we were going to use the ring post, or did just everyone was told?
No one ever does. It's every match.
I'm working the leg, brother. Oh, you're working the leg. Okay, you're working the post. Oh, okay. But every match felt like they used the post.
So Vance and Hank are now going at it, and Vance is showing off some pretty impressive strength considering the size of Hank. Lots of 10 chants from this crowd directed at Sean Spears. Hank then catches Jensen with a big back body drop and makes the hot tag to Tank as Jensen tags in Spears. Tank is just taking out everyone. He's hitting his like belly to belly overhead throws and then a cannonball to Vance on the floor. And in the process, Tank grabs, I think it's Vance's head, and just slams it up on the announce table. And Corey Graves seems genuinely pissed off here because I think it kind of knocked out the feed to his monitor, and he was very Booker T here, just like genuinely not holding his anger.
He'll be mad later too, don't worry. But yeah, it was very Booker T of him.
There's then a double superplex from Hank and Tank to Spears, and Jensen and Vance come off the top with diving headbutts to break this up. Briggs then climbs to the top and hits a huge moonsault, and Vance and Jensen break up that pin. And then Tank leaps off the top, but gets caught with a spinning wheel kick from Jensen, who then hits, it's like the, excuse me, it was like a kind of angle slam setup into the GTS from
We've seen,
Brooks here.
But Buddy Murphy does this move in AEW. It's like a torture rack almost into like a reverse GTS, but like a knee to the back of the head, essentially. But yeah, Brooks pulling this move out, pretty crazy.
There's then a Dominator from Vance into the double stomp off the top from Jensen to Tank, which looked pretty cool. But Hank, this is a 1-2, ref very much holding his hand up a little longer because Hank was slightly off the breakup here. And this crowd let the ref have it with "Ref, you suck" chants. And
Corey Graves was yelling, and then they clearly were like, "Yo, shut up, stop talking about it," because it was pretty bad. Someone get Jimmy Corderas on the case, because this happens in wrestling, but I feel like it happens whenever it happens in any other company or show. People are definitely quick to blame, but it happens in every company and every show. It's just, of course, the crowd are going to boo the ref and boo the situation.
As a ref, you're in such a tough position here, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're like you're told to like count it whatever, but also you don't want to just ruin the match by counting it because someone is, a split second too late breaking up the pin. And it's really, I don't know, like, what do you do as a ref? Do you just sneeze if you know they're not going to kick out to like
one,
stop
two,
you from
kick out.
Yeah, like I
I
don't know what you do, but it always,
it sucks when it happens.
It makes the ref look bad when it's often actually, the talent who are late or whatever.
Yeah.
So ref, you suck chance. There's then a double pounce from Hank and Tank to Spears on the floor, and Briggs drags Jensen back into the ring. However, when the ref isn't looking, Izzy Dame hits Briggs with a big boot, but Briggs comes right back with a clothesline from hell to Jensen. Hank then tags back in. He tags in Tank, which allows them to hit the honk honk splash in the middle, followed by their running power slam headbutt combo, and Hank, Tank, and Briggs win the match.
Yeah, so there were some fun moments in this stuff, like some of the crazy chaotic spots with the topes and the three of them going all over the place. But there was some other stuff that I think the character and the story of this match, like, I know we wanted to get more people on this card, but I definitely didn't quite understand. Like, I know Hank and Tank just won the tag titles, but the tag division pool now is so shallow that we don't have teams for these guys. So they put them in this match, and the Briggs stuff in the last few weeks has been kind of weird. So I can't say there was much like excitement, but there was still cool stuff into it. Like even Sean Spears, I think, hit a tope suicida at one point. Like he was hitting stuff that he doesn't necessarily always do. So I do give it to everyone, all the boys involved here who were like going out of their way to hit some pretty impressive stuff, especially Nico, Vance, obviously PLE appearance here, but that Dominator combo with Brooks was pretty nice and stuff. But I can't say I got too into this match, probably my least favorite on the show, but this would have been a fine NXT TV match by all means. We would probably be like, oh, for a TV match, this is pretty good. But for PLE, I can't say I was like too invested into this one. But I think the more important story comes right after the match.
I thought this would be this over-delivered for me. I thought the match was really fun. I agree with the story. I think they fumbled this Briggs Jensen thing. I don't think it's ever been made as big a deal as it should. They reference their past, like they're in these promos, but I'm really not getting the like. I think Briggs should be a bit more emotional about this, what's going on, and there just hasn't really been that conflict there. But I thought all of the sort of character and story aside, I thought this was a really fun, just kind of car crash of a match. There a couple of times where I felt like a few of them were like, shit, what's happening next? A little out of position, or just because it was so ambitious with everything going on. But I ended up really enjoying this, and I actually preferred it to a couple of other matches on this show, which I was surprised about.
That's fair, yeah.
After the match, the Culling decide to beat down Hank, Tank, and Briggs, and they bring a chair into the ring. Dame goes and gets the chair when Inamura. Now, I know we were mad that he gave the vest back to Briggs, but in the process, he traded in his WWE logo t-shirt for a sweet nice looking Hawaiian shirt here.
Wow, look at him. Look at this man. He knew the vest. That's probably why he left. He left America because the only friend here, Briggs, gave him this really weird biker vest that he was like, I'm not really feeling that.
Yeah, like, I'm not going back to Japan. I'm just going to Uniqlo.
I need to go actually get some shirts that look good on TV. So last week, Briggs, the angle on TV was that he was so butthurt. He was so sad because he missed his friend. A tale as old as time in wrestling. He just missed his friend, man. And we got it. And you could tell there was definitely people in this crowd here in Tampa who are NXT people who knew the story, but out of all the things, this felt like deep NXT lore. Like not everyone knew about who this guy was, but you did hear some genuine people in the crowd like, oh, it's Inamura. And people are like, who? All right, sick. Nice shirt. Anyways, so I am happy he's back because we were saying, what the fuck do you do with Briggs now? You've teased the single solo tag runs, this and that. And then his gimmick was at the end of it, I'm sad. I miss my friend. It's like, come on. So they made the right decision. If this was part of the plan or not, like they made the right decision. And now I would go forward with these two as a proper tag team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Inamura's status is. Like, I thought he was a kind of on excursion, but I guess he's sticking around. I very much got the, did you get off the plane? Did you get off the plane? I got off the plane sort of feeling with, if you know, with this here. But yes, very, very wholesome seeing Briggs and Inamura back together. They clear the ring. Jensen is left on his own. They beat him up and throw him out.
Yeah, what we need is Briggs and Inamura need a tag team name. You know, they're not quite the Golden Lovers, but I like where we're going with these two friends, and we're lacking tag teams. I want Briggs and Inamura to take the tag titles from Hank and Tank, which might take a while to get there, but
you know, I'm pretty sure Best Friends is trademarked by the other company. But what about Vest Friends?
Stop! I was just laughing at myself. Like, I don't know if I just compared Briggs and Inamura to the Golden Lovers, but I think I did. So fuck it, I'm sticking with it. And then you made that great pun, so that's why you stay for the NXT chat and banter here. And through this whole match, I'm like, I'm watching the GPS. I'm watching the Navigator, as Booker T now added a second nickname, not just the GPS, the Navigator, Sean Spears, when I could have been watching JB Hayter. But it's okay, because you know what? This match did over-deliver. I think there was some cool stuff in it, and it was cool to have some of the people who don't always get featured on a PLE. But it does make me think where we're going to go with the Culling getting a match for the titles versus Hank and Tank, and then, you know, Moore and Briggs got to get the match in against them. So we got to build this tag division back up, because it definitely Fraxium had a hell of a year, and then they left us. So yeah,
we see Ethan Page, who's not booked on the show, but he's being interviewed, and he says he doesn't care for Sarah Schreiber's questions. Everyone around here believes Saints is the coolest guy in NXT. He's flashy. He's got a sharp tongue, but that's all external. It's just for show, because on the inside, he is one of the most insecure human beings he has ever met. And how would you explain making such poor decisions? I backed him in a corner, and he made a mistake. And now we're facing on Tuesday for the NXT North American Championship. And the path he's been taking on Tuesday will take him to become NXT North American Champion. When Ava interrupts him and says that the match will be kicking off the show, and whoever wins the match will defend it June 7th at Worlds Collide. So I see Ricky retaining this. We do have a little angle later on. But who do you potentially see on AAA going for the North American title? Who do you think kind of fits this level?
Yeah, so if we have Ethan Page and Ricky Saints are opening Tuesday's NXT, and the winner is the champion. So I assume Ricky retains, just because he's kind of just won this title. But again, I'm not necessarily too caught up with my AAA. But like, again, I think of Iguana Man when I think of Javon Evans. But there's also Laredo Kid. Is he part of AAA? I haven't seen him in AEW in a long time. So
yeah, no, he was working TNA a lot. I'm not sure, and I think MLW. I'm not sure who he's with.
The Pagano, the Psycho Clown. They've announced some matches, right?
Yeah, he's in the 6-man, right? I think him and Elhio, Dr. Wagner Jr. are in the 6-man tag. Laredo Kid is AAA, so he's there.
Aerostar.
What about El Nino Hamburguesa, the big boy?
I don't know what you just said, but that's the best wrestling name I have ever heard. So let's go with that. Yeah. Let's go with that. You know, it's crazy because like AAA, we watched so many Triple Manias through the years, where now like the talent is all over the place. There's so much of that talent that was in AEW that now have been in WWE for years. So it's not necessarily the best era of AAA. Like the talent has kind of been rated in the past little while. Like when I think like the last few times that have been awesome was when Penta was like the guy down there, and now WWE owned him anyways. So I see him. He's like a king down there. So maybe he has a match on the show as well. But I don't know necessarily who the opponent for Ricky will be, or Ethan, I guess.
Murder Clown. That would be good. Yeah.
Murder Clown, Psycho Clown 2.
Psycho Clown's in that 6-man with Pagano, and we've got is Chessman still around? Or no, he retired, didn't he? Didn't he lose
We got Sin Cara.
Mystico? Right? No, he's CMLL. Or is the other one?
Mr. Says Jr. Isn't there? Yes. There's two of them, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're not going back in the lore of Sin Cara.
What about La Parka? Is that CMLL?
There's the new La Parka is AAA.
I don't know if Def Rebel could make a Thriller knockoff theme. That would do La Parka.
Def Rebel can't make a theme.
They can't even make original theme.
Yeah.
Oh, throwing shade at them, but kind of not wrong. But Sam Adonis, he's
true.
Someone, Corey Graves' brother. We could see him definitely. We've seen him in Demand Lucha here in Toronto quite a lot.
That would be fun, and use Corey as like a. Corey's brought up his brother a couple of times on commentary, so that could be a fun way to get him in there.
Yeah, remember who was it? Drago Kid. Remember he came to Man Lucha? It's like a mini Drago. Yeah. He was pretty nuts actually. He was pretty good. But yeah, it's. I guess we'll see some of the talent that they bring in and start to use. But there's also Dave the Clown. That can't be. That's the wrestling name in Mexico.
I'm sat right here, man.
Yeah, Dave the Clown. I'm talking to him. Let us know. Fantasy book. What Worlds Collide could happen? As long as the Lucha Brothers are on the show, I'm going to be pretty excited. But I guess it's who we have for them to face is the question.
We go to our next match. Tony D'Angelo versus Channing, Stacks, Lorenzo. Yes, say his full name. Show the respect he deserves, as Booker was going off on that for the whole match. Vic, why are you calling him just Stacks? I'm like, because I'm calling a match, Book. It's
Lorenzo, Channing,
Stacks, Lorenzo.
The video for this had like one of those classical like songs. Is it Fortuna? I'm messing it up, but it was like showing all the like
Ave Maria.
Is that what it is? Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
But like it's beautiful, but it's so funny hearing like classical music talking about mafia in my pro wrestling. Ridiculous. And on top of that, we got a new theme song. Was this Def Rebel? It's like kind of mafia intro, an electric guitar, and then like a rap song for Channing, Stacks, Lorenzo. New music, new look, and everything here. Same leather cap, but new look and leather jacket.
I hope he hasn't got rid of his shirts as well. I do like Stacks' shirts.
This essentially, for anyone, this is Tony D'Angelo. This is Tony D'Angelo versus Stacks, but in reality, it's Tony Soprano versus Mike Christopher. What's his last name in the show? I forget. Malsanti? Something like that. This is essentially the storyline that they're going is Sopranos. If Tony and Christopher duked it out, this was if there was a different swerve in the Sopranos, I guess if you know, we would end up like this. But here we go. The mafia kingpins facing each other.
Tony slaps Stacks immediately and takes him down. It's all Tony to start with, just giving him a right old ass whooping, knees to the gut, big clothesline sending him to the floor. And then Stacks comes back by drop kicking Tony into the ring steps. And now Tony is favoring his ribs. There's a cannonball in the corner from Channing. Then he applies a body scissors, applying pressure to those injured ribs. And Stacks is in control. He then hits, I think they called it cement shoes, which is like the curb stomp, but with the knee. And now Stacks kind of is starting to favor his ankle, which looks like he's tweaked it a little. So that allows Tony to come back. He's delivering his belly to bellies, his spine busters, and the uppercuts to the ribs. There's then a nice looking deadlift German from Tony for a 2 count. But then Stacks catches Tony with a triangle, delivering elbows to the top of the head. D'Angelo powers up and counters this with a powerbomb, followed by ground and pound, and he's just letting Stacks have it. And then it's the Shawn Michaels classic. He looks at his hands. What am I doing? This was my best friend. I grew up with this man. I loved this man. He was like a brother to me. He's just looking at his hands, which feels like an eternity as just the momentum just dies in this match. And Stacks is shouting at Tony, saying he's weak, he's soft, and then drives Tony into the ring post, goes on the apron for a cannonball, Tony gets out the way. So Stacks goes back first right into this ring post. This actually looked pretty cool spot here. There's then a running knee from Tony, and then the forget about it, the fisherman suplex. And Tony goes to launch Stacks over the ropes. Remember, like they used to do as a tag team, but this time no one to catch him underneath. But as he does it, his ribs gives out, so he doesn't have the strength to launch him. And thus, he gets draped in the second rope. Stacks comes off the top with a double stomp to the back. And now Stacks goes searching for the crowbar, but it's not there. He turns around, eats a spear from D'Angelo, and then Stacks is begging. He's saying, I'm sorry, but Tony delivers some stomps, a big spine buster, and then Luca Crucifino is stood there at ringside, and D'Angelo's confused. What are you doing here? And the ref is telling Luca, get out of here. You shouldn't be here. Get out. And as the ref's distracted, there is a low blow from Stacks. He kicks Tony right in the balls and then delivers a running knee to the back of the head. And 1, 2, 3, Stacks pins Tony D'Angelo in 15 minutes, 14 seconds.
Tony D'Angelo sleeps with the fishes. Or is it Luca Crucifino who might be doing that? But there's something screwy afoot here with the family. Who's on whose side? Who's the turncoats? Who's the double agents? Who's the departed here? Who's in on this?
No real payoff here. Like, Luca didn't do anything. And even after the match, Tony's just looking at him like, what the fuck? Why are you here? So not
Luca
really
tries
knowing.
to hug him. He tries to hug him, and then Tony shoves him and walks away. So it did look like it was Luca purposely trying to distract, but then he tried to hug Tony, and Tony's not falling for it. So we were kind of suggesting on our preview of this show, like last week, that like shouldn't it just be Luca and Rizzo like screw Tony as well? Like they join.
I imagine they're maybe building it up, and we'll see Rizzo come back soon. But I kind of hated this match, to be honest. I found it really disappointing, and I thought whenever there were good parts of it, but whenever either of them was selling, the match just ground to a halt, and you heard this crowd go very quiet. And this crowd at times got really hot on this show, and especially just the overacting, the looking at the hands. I think it completely took me out of it. It went on way too long, and it just kept killing the momentum. I really did not enjoy this match.
I did not like this match at all, actually. I was really trying to get into it, and like I know that both of these guys, Stacks and Tony, are both fine wrestlers. We've seen them have actual good matches, and it was taking a while for it to get into it. I haven't necessarily loved the story. It hasn't been anything that's been super interesting, but we've been going with it because it's been such a long story with Stacks and Tony. But as much as I'm like trying to get invested into this and as they're trying to get it going, and then you go to the like, oh, why am I attacking him? You've been fighting him for like 10 plus minutes, and all of a sudden you just
as far as you know, this guy murdered Luca Crucifino at this point,
and Rizzo possibly,
and we've had to put Rizzo in hiding. Yeah,
it's people like, I think when people do this in the match, it's like when was it Will Ospreay with the Tiger Driver? It's like, oh, I shouldn't do this move. It's like, okay, well, it is a dangerous move. You could break someone's neck, but just to look at your hands, to be like, why am I punching you? Oh, why am I hurting you? That sucks. Why am I doing that? Like halfway through the match, like what? No. And then on top of that, Stacks later is like, oh, T, I'm sorry. Hey, T, stop, please. It's like, man, I don't know. It wasn't great. And I think we know Stacks is capable. He's the one who's definitely like stepped up and had some good stuff in NXT, but I don't know, something about this doesn't click. If this is like, I thought for a second this would have been Tony's swan song of NXT, like maybe him leaving, but I don't think that's the case yet. And I guess bring him up to the main roster as a solo Italian mobster gimmick and see what happens. Cause like, I don't know, I feel like this story of the mafia family D'Angelo stuff feels like it's been going on for so long, and I'm kind of over it. And I think a good reset would be to start over on the main roster with it and sink or swim with this gimmick, because we saw gimmicks in NXT that they never pulled the trigger on, like a Chase U or something on the main roster. It's because, like, I don't know, they're scared, they're nervous that it might not fit. But like, I don't know, an Italian superstar named Tony D'Angelo, put it on the main roster and see what happens. Because I think it's run its course in NXT.
I think they do need to finish the story, though. They've only just done the turn, and like the whole thing has been building up to this. I do see a series. I see a gimmick match down the line. But yeah, I just think in general in wrestling, I think you've got a tricky thing where, you know, you're playing to an arena. So it's like you're playing to a theater. So you've got to overact. So the back row knows what story you're trying to tell. But us at home are watching it with a camera right up close. And these moments always go on too long. And it just pulls me out of it because it's just those hokey things in wrestling that reminds you it's fake, you know? And I just this overacting, I just wish we could find a different way, not just looking at your hands. Is there a more effective way you can tell this story that you're showing regret about what you're doing? I don't know, but I hate it. We see it so much, and it is a Shawn Michaels trope, right? Like that he brings in, and I just wish we could figure out something else rather than just staring at hands in the middle of the match for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just a silly wrestling trope that you do see used, but it's like you've been beating him up for like 10 minutes already, and all of a sudden you feel bad about it. When would that? I don't know. Like you see that especially in movies, I guess. Like
you see it in movies, but in a movie it would be the guy's punching him until his face is a bloody mess and his nose is broken, and then he's like, "Whoa, what have I done?"
So we need that.
It's not delivering a few elbows to the neck or whatever. Like
it's definitely not. I do think we're gonna go to a rematch on this. We need some sort of mafia gimmick match, you know, on the docks match, you know. I don't know, some sort of New Jersey, New York State street fight or something where we're getting mafia. What other than they could wrestle in the restaurant where they're always eating before, but
we've had the crowbar on a pole match as well, didn't we? Wasn't that Pete Dunne? And right. I could see maybe that being something. There's still this feels kind of like the end of chapter 1 of this thing. We need to know Luca's alignment. We need to know what's going on with Rizzo. I see maybe 3 matches in total with these, and as you said, they're both capable. I think a different match, they could have a good one, but I was let down with this between the two.
Maybe if they do it a second time, adding some sort of stipulation or gimmick, might help them out. The crowbars, the weapons, the that kind of stuff. But if it's these two fighting, and we want some sort of like Italian mobster gimmick match, the tables they use have to have the red and white tablecloth,
the checkers
over. Yeah, they got to put them through those tables. And then I guess, or maybe like, I'm not asking for a cinematch, but like this is the type of feud or story because of all the years of Tony D'Angelo using cinema style promos and vignettes over the years in NXT, like something along the lines of when it's time for him to go, maybe he is, put in the trunk, as we've seen them do to other people. But I don't know where we go, because if you take Tony and put him on the main roster, then what do you do with Luca, Rizzo, and Stax? Do they continue to be their own mafia family, and then eventually
how many versions of Chase U have we seen?
I
think you can have the 3 of them run it for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see.
We go to our next match: Stephanie Vaquer versus Jordynne Grace for the NXT Women's Championship. I kind of thought this might headline the show. I was a little surprised to have it on this early.
Yeah, I was shocked that they put this not as the main event. This was the match I was most looking forward to and did not disappoint. Getting ahead of myself, if you did not watch anything, would definitely seek this match out to be the one. This was the one for me tonight, and I really loved what we got out of these two. But this wasn't the main event, and then right after, I'm pretty sure they said that the TNA Championship would be main eventing on this show. So pretty cool. Obviously, that's a big historic thing with the TNA title, but I think both of us were going into this thinking Stephanie and Jordynne were going to main event.
I made it the graphic for the show, feeling it would headline. But
which is totally, again, I think the match, most people like us were definitely looking forward to this one. And it's interesting because I felt like Jordynne Grace didn't necessarily get a huge reaction when she came out. And then Stephanie comes out and feels like this superstar who's caught fire in WWE and NXT. Like,
I think it's
warmed up
having
to Grace.
her with a couple of Raw appearances as well.
Yeah, that really adds to it.
The extended people who maybe don't follow NXT know who Stephanie Vaquer is now. I also thought her entrance, like this is the same set we had for Saturday night's main event, and I thought her entrance in particular just looked great. She looks like such a star, so ready already for the main roster. But a bit of a different look with the purple today. Which I liked. It looked nice.
Yeah, the Prince colors here. But, I think, like Jordynne didn't necessarily have the same reaction when she came out because everyone's so focused and hyped up about the star of Stephanie that we're watching in real time. And I think the crowd then warmed up to Jordynne later being like, oh, wait, no, this girl is a killer. This girl's great. So I suspect Jordynne Grace will she had these big reactions in TNA and stuff like that, but when it finally clicks and when it's her time in NXT, she's going to be getting these big reactions too, because you could have just put Jordynne Grace on Raw or SmackDown right away and she'd be putting on some heavy hitting matches with some of the stars. But I'm happy that we get a little bit of her in NXT, hopefully a lot of her in NXT, because she's a really great wrestler to watch.
We see the two women from AAA up front row. Jordynne and Stephanie shake hands to start the match, some sportsmanship, and some mat wrestling to start, both trading pin attempts. Steph goes early for the Devil's Kiss, but Grace rolls out the ring with the legs still wrapped around her neck and brings her right up on the floor into an electric chair and drops her back first on the announce table. This looked awesome.
Right in front of Booker T, and then stares daggers into his eyes. And Booker, you mentioned earlier, Corey got pissed when his monitor got knocked. Oh, yeah. We've seen Booker in the past get really upset when people mess with the table or anything in front of him. And he was going off. Booker T soundbite here. What the hell? He's losing his mind. Like, what the hell is that all about? And he keeps yelling at Jordynne Grace because she was looking at him like, you're part of the reason she's getting all these reactions because of the move and Booker T and the kind of thing. But I thought this was such a great spot where like she just stares at him like, fuck you. And he treated it like he was so offended by this.
The camera cuts away, but Booker starts going off on a fan in the front row, like just behind him, who's clearly like chirping him. Like just genuinely seems mad.
What the hell was that all about? He's just so fucking pissed that Jordynne did this to him.
Jordynne Grace then applies a Boston Crab. I love the setup for this. As she's trying to turn her and Stephanie's like holding on, she's just kicking her in the back to eventually get this Boston Crab locked in. So Grace is dominating. She goes for the Vader bomb, but Stephanie gets out the way. And then Vaquer comes back with a high crossbody followed by Eat Defeat. And then a Meteora in the corner. And this time locks in the Devil's Kiss. Now, the crowd now, instead of counting the 1, 2, 3, they're all just going, ha, ha, ha. So what's great is when she eventually does move up and Booker isn't on commentary, hopefully the crowd continue this because it just sounded awesome with this.
Again, wrestling fans, we're simple people. We just give us something that's 1, 2 syllables to chant. We're going to do it. And just chanting, this thing is caught on with, I guess, the internet fans pretty quickly. And then since I don't know what it is, but the whole crowd were doing this, and Booker T once again going absolutely nuts. But I started dying laughing when I heard. I turned my volume was already up really high, but I turned it up even more. I was like, "Are they doing the chant with it?" And yeah, they got it on top of everything Stephanie Vaquer has already. This is now added to the lore of this move has, yeah. So the Devil's Kiss now has a crazy crowd reaction, and she has Booker T to thank for that. So
Vaquer then hits a clothesline, and Grace completely no-sells it. Like, oh, is that all you got? And Grace hits this sort of package sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. Vaquer comes back with this like spike snap DDT, and the ref like goes right to Grace to check on her. This looked nasty, but I think she seemed okay. But this looked very good. Grace hits the superplex into the jackhammer combo, which is great, but only a 2 count. And then there's a pin attempt, which Stephanie bridges out of and seamlessly sets up for the SVP. But this gets counted into a beast mode attempt That gets countered into a pin attempt from Vaquer. And then Stephanie, they're now brawling on the outside. Stephanie throws Grace through the barricade, rolls her into the ring, and connects with the SVB 1-2. But Jordynne Grace kicks out. The crowd are going nuts.
They scream with this.
The crowd are sure this is a 3, and I'm pretty sure it's the same ref from earlier. So they get on him again with ref, you suck chance. But this was a very well-timed kick out. This wasn't like the
first
tank
match. Yeah, this is the first time this move has been kicked out. Like, this is the first time finally someone kicked out of it. We're not big fans of this move. I think the one thing is this move sucks because everyone does this move as just a move. It's just a backbreaker. It's welcome to Chicago, right? It's the like Jericho. Everyone does this move in wrestling, and it's just kind of weird that it's removed. But the crowd reacted. It was a big moment. Yeah, people just thought it was it, and great kick out. And if they were already really into this, but they really got into it when they were shocked at this, and it made the rest of this match like people were just on their feet or on edge.
So Stephanie sets up for the SVB again, but Grace blocks it. And now, and this was a real shame because this was for the climax of the match, but Stephanie is climbing to the top and Vic says, "We don't see Stephanie do this often." And Corey just goes, "What are you talking about, Vic? She goes to the top all the time. We've seen her hit a spiral tap."
Her other move,
As she hits a spiral tap, and it's like, look, there you go.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and Vaquer wins. But just the commentary was definitely like this little bickering right at the end. I agree with Corey. I was like, Vic, what are you talking about? But this wasn't the time to hop on Vic because this was the finish of the match. But great looking move, and Vaquer wins clean.
The nitpicking is like, I Corey Graves, fine guy, great commentator, but like, do we really need him here in NXT? Like, that was a weird call. Like, maybe Vic was wrong, but like, it was just weird, especially while the climax of the match, like the finish is happening, and you're kind of like bickering about.
Because then Vic is trying to sort of defend it. She's like, "Oh no, we've seen her go up top, but it's only in rare occurrences when she's got nothing left," and trying to defend himself. But it's the fact it was the final move was disappointing. But
they can be jarring
between these two.
Like, they definitely like collide heads a little bit where they like talk over, or they're trying to do the same job essentially, and it is kind of a bit jarring. When we were used to Vic and Book together, it seemed seamless, but now it is a little rough around the edges. However, loved this match. There was some rough around the edges because these two, Stephanie and Jordynne, were slugging it out. The back and forth like tombstone counters into the one slam, like there was some great stuff in this. And Jordynne Grace, since coming into WWE, whether it's her appearances in like the Rumble or the stuff even before she was signed, she's just been impressive and just unstoppable. And this was another one. Like, the match with Julia to get this match was one of the best NXT women's TV matches in such a long time. And then we go to this one, which is probably even better. So like, I love watching her here in NXT. And again, Stephanie is just this star that you could put. I was expecting just how popular she is. You put her on Raw or SmackDown like tomorrow, and she will be one of your biggest stars. So I do see Jordynne Grace getting this NXT title eventually, but I really love this match. This was easily my match of the night, and I think people will definitely be talking about it when it comes back to it. But I want the rematch. I want another one because Stephanie is on top of the world, in the world of wrestling right now, but also just on top of her game. She is so good, and she met someone, Jordynne Grace, who is equally on her game as always in the ring. So really love this. I just want more of it, and I can't wait to see where both of these two go in WWE. We were talking briefly about Evolution 2. These two should be all over that, if not like in the main event some capacities, though. Really looking forward to seeing where they go in WWE. Really love this match. This really hit for me.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think Jordynne Grace has been so consistent when she's come in putting on like very high caliber matches. I love, we saw it in the match with Julia, that there's clearly a thing where they're like, let's beat the shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't mind if you hurt me. You don't mind if I hurt you, that kind of thing. And it always just makes a match so much more exciting. And I think maybe one of the things with Julia we saw was, well, she was kind of trying to hold back because she was used to just hitting the shit out of people in
She's
Japan.
fighting volleyball players in a performance center.
Yeah,
Finally
but then when she had the match with Jordynne Grace, it's like, yes, that's the
There
Julia
you
we
go.
know and love. Yeah, I love this. Like with Kelani and Soul, like these two should be tied together for a while. Stephanie's going to have a little pit stop with the whole Worlds Collide thing that's going on. After that, I'd put these two back together. I'd make it like the SummerSlam weekend main event. I think you should turn Jordynne Grace heel.
Yes.
I think that should be the thing. I think Grace has lost the big matches, and now it's time to, like, you've had the respect. It ended clean. And yeah, kind of it was like Balor and Joe, right? Like Joe lost originally as babyface and then just kills him. And I think that's the route to go. And then you can have Jordynne Grace as your heel champion. Stephanie can move up fully after SummerSlam sometime. And you can start pushing some of these other women, like moving a Soul Ruca up to the women, like main event women's scene and stuff. But I love this match. It completely delivered. And NXT's calling card is definitely the women, because both women's matches were
stole the show.
Far the best things on this show.
Yeah, I completely agree. Both women's matches were my highlight of this show. And that's, again, the NXT women's division is known for that. And they did it again here tonight. Really, I love Stephanie Vaquer has become one of the best, most polished. And same with Jordynne. I've been loving since coming in here. They went at it. They were going, slug for slug, band for band. They were doing it. And I need to see it again. And a heel Jordynne is definitely some money. And then she can just dominate all the, like, up and coming talent until it's finally someone else's turn. But I think the more quicker people see Stephanie Vaquer and a Jordynne Grace on the main roster, they'll instantly connect and be even bigger stars down the line. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. And then this is when they kind of also tease the Tormenta stuff. So I do imagine, or maybe like a 3-way here, but Tormenta versus Vaquer, I guess, would be where we would go at Worlds Collide. And then you do like some mini TV feuds until SummerSlam with Jordynne Grace again. That's definitely where I would go.
Ricky Saints comes to the ring, and he grabs the mic right away and says, "Ethan is the guy you see at the party. You just don't know why he's there." Talking about, is it the Robert Pattinson meme of him just stood in the kitchen? No one
knows why I'm here.
No one knows why he's there. He says, "No one invited him, and for some reason, I'm his new favorite obsession. And I thought we would move on after Stan and Deliver, but it's clear that I'm on his mind 24/7. And I put this title on the line, not as a mistake, but I knew his greed wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. I am tired of you. So if that means I have to defend this against you and whoop your ass, then let's dance. And regarding Worlds Collide, I ain't shy. So whoever wants to face me, I'm game." And he says he wants to defend against the best. When you hear this crowd kind of pick up in noise as Ethan Page runs in, but Ricky has scouted him, beats him up, sends him out the ring. And as security are trying to pull Page away, Ricky climbs to the top rope and dives, taking them all out. So yes, this match opens NXT this Tuesday. Ricky versus Ethan.
Yeah, but here he is saying, like, hey, I will be winning this match. I will take my title and I will have a match at Worlds Collide. So yeah, I imagine Ricky, we kind of went through some other ones, but maybe there's a chance with Ethan Page. We kind of said in the last few weeks, Ricky came in, won the title, but he's been a little cooled off. He hasn't necessarily been a main feature thing. I mean, he's not even wrestling on this PLE. So I hope we can like reheat him back up to where we know, like, I don't know why he even needed to come to NXT really, but I don't know really what there is to do unless we're just going to put him into the main title scene eventually. So I can't say I'm like too excited about Ethan Page and Ricky just because like they're both the two AEW Dark or Collision guys. Like it feels just like I don't want them wrestling each other. They're kind of too similar maybe or something. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, I'd be happy for them to move on from this. So hopefully Tuesday's the blow off, and hopefully we'll find out who Ricky's opponent is.
I think either of these guys could be on the main roster like tomorrow, and they'd fit in perfectly, even as a tag team. Like both of them being, good talkers, wrestlers. But I don't know where we go with this with Worlds Collide. But where's Judas Messias? Remember, I don't know if you know who that guy is. Is he in AAA? They got the bloody mouth, Lucha Underground. He was some character in Lucha Underground with the mask, the big scary dude. But I don't put him in the match. But I was about to click the chat, and I realized no, I can't do that because I could potentially read AEW spoilers, which reminded me to remind everyone that we're accepting super chats right now, and we will not read them until after the show. So if you want to support us by watching NXT tonight over AEW, super chats are welcome here.
I did catch that this message did make me laugh though. What? How long the Poisonranas guys been on post? For about 7
day
years.
One.
But...
Day one, mother. Been here longer than the most. What are you talking about? Come on, since day one. Post wrestling over everything. All you postmarks out there, appreciate the love, but don't click the comments, Davie. You're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah,
stop it. AEW's probably got 3 more matches left.
It seems everyone's been very well behaved so far, apart from one guy being like, "Why are you watching this garbage over Double or Nothing?"
I don't know. Why are you watching this garbage?
Yeah, well, why are you watching that?
This is way worse garbage than what we anyways. So yeah, at this point I was like, man, we're gonna get out of here at a breeze 10:30. And of course they're like, let's add a Ricky Saints promo, let's throw in some more Cardi B commercials, and here we are.
This didn't feel quite as bad as the last PLE though. It felt a little breezier with going to the matches and stuff.
That's fair.
Dan Stand and Deliver felt like a lot, I remember. But we also had to book it over to Gabby's right as it finished to set up. Right. So maybe that had something to do with it. We go to our NXT Championship match. Oba Femi defending against Myles Borne. We get a bit of a video, like a sit down with Myles before his entrance, kind of going through all the stuff he's been saying before, like talking about his disability and how he doesn't want it to be seen as a disability, but an ability. And he's got this big opportunity and he's doing it for the kids like him and all that kind of stuff.
Really, really love this. I've been loving the story arc. It was a big shock when he won the Battle Royal. It was totally left field. And I think we've seen what this kid is capable of with the tag team and No Quarter Catch Crew, but to put him in this big prominent position is such a big deal. And he's made the best with it. They've always joked. They've spent the last year with little comments about him and him being deaf and him not listening to people and I can't hear you and that kind of thing. But it wasn't until finally that promo last week or a few weeks ago where he says outright, like, hey, I'm partially deaf. My hearing is bad. I have a speech impediment. And he's doing this for all the people who are, out there who are different. And I was really impressed with the story and the promo. And then I really love this video again, kind of going over a little bit. They mentioned that when he was a kid, the baby had 15% chance to live and all this stuff. And here he is wrestling for the NXT title. So I love when you can blur the lines of things like wrestling. I was just critiquing a mafia family storyline and I'm not a big fan of it. Whereas this is you're taking something in real life and you're using it in a great way to get people behind this guy. And I think we all know someone that might be living with a disability. So for him to be like, hey, I'm fighting for all those people, I think that's great. And there's something I always like to say is not disabled, but differently abled. And I think that's what he was kind of getting at in the promo. So great stuff. This is what I like to see in my wrestling. Less silly mafia and spooky people and more real life kind of connecting stories like this. So let's go, Myles.
Oba is dominating early on. He's delivering suplexes, a big elbow to the spine. And they're kind of telling this story in the match that Myles can kind of catch Oba with these drop kicks, the old Randy Orton drop kicks. And so Myles manages to get some offense in when he catches Oba with the drop kick. But Oba comes right back, big clothesline. Myles goes for a tope suicida, but gets hit with a big forearm as he's making the dive. And then Oba with a huge gut buster. And then Oba charges into the corner. Myles moves out the way, which sends Oba shoulder first into the ring post.
The damn ring post strikes again.
Ring post. But this allows Myles to hit another drop kick, sending Oba to the floor, and follows up with a huge tope con hilo. In the ring, Myles hits the Randy Orton-esque snap power slam for a 2 count, goes for a standing moonsault, but Oba gets out the way, goes for another gutbuster, but this time Myles blocks it and is able to hit the standing moonsault. But on landing, he gets caught by the throat by Oba and delivers a huge choke slam. And then Borne comes back with this DDT, goes up to the top. Oba moves out the way. Myles rolls through, but runs right into a fall from grace, which Myles counters with a Rana. And then Oba starts his train of uppercuts in the corner. But as he turns, Myles catches him with a German suplex, goes up to the top again, hits a frog splash, but Femi kicks out. Myles delivers one more drop kick, but turns right into a pop-up uppercut, followed by the fall from grace. 1, 2, and Myles just kicks out. The crowd gets very hot with this near fall, and Oba looks shocked. And Oba now is delivering his uppercuts in the corner. And on the third one, Myles scouts it, rolls him up for a 2 count. And then we get one more big clothesline from Oba Femi, followed by the toss powerbomb, and then the fall from grace. And to make sure he puts him away, he rolls him through and delivers one more fall from grace. And Oba Femi retains in 16 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yeah, and then as he's leaving, he looks over at Myles, gives him the old nod. And Myles gives him the nod too. Not a handshake, not a code of honor, but a little like, hey, that was pretty good.
Oba's great at we're talking about how obvious the looking at the hands and stuff is. I think Oba's subtleties are really good. Like, they speak loudly without it being over the top. And he definitely had I don't know whether he was slightly gassed or was just selling towards the end of the match. Those running uppercuts, he was kind of a little out of breath and slower, but it kind of worked, because afterwards he's then like, that kid took it to me. I kind of underestimated him. He almost got me.
Great story. This is like David versus Goliath, because it's the underdog kid who's talking about fighting for all the kids out there who's got disabilities, and he's a lot smaller, a lot faster, but running into this giant, the ruler, the destroyer here. It had the great story. And I thought there was some great stuff where Oba's throwing him around and the crowd were getting so behind on some of the hope spots. I really got into this. It was a lot of fun. Myles delivered. I hope we get to see a lot more of him. It was so great to see him featured in this, but Oba's great. I don't know what we do with him, because we have to find the chosen one here in NXT to be the one to beat the ruler. We saw Tony was the one to beat him for the North American title, but eventually someone's got to beat him, because if you thought people were obsessed with the Penta walk, the real ones know the Oba Femi walk. And I did laundry the other day. I'm just walking around like I'm big shit just because I'm doing the Oba Femi walk. But this guy is star written all over him. Dare I say both of them. I love Myles too. And I think if people got to see or hear that story, you totally get behind him. But a really fun match. The hope spots were great. The crowd were great. I love when we're not in the Florida PC, when all these annoying people, and it was just great. There was a lot of people in this crowd, 7,000 or something, according to WrestleTix. So really cool to see Myles get these hope spots in. And for a second, you're like, could he beat Oba here? Could this happen? So really got into this, and this isn't the end for Myles. I'm sure he'll get some gold down the line, but maybe get back with Tavion, tag team title run. I still kind of want to see that. I like them together. So I'm not quite sure if we'll get a
Dempsey feud coming up, I imagine.
Yeah, we got to do Myles versus Charlie down the line, I think would be the next kind of thing. But really like this. Oba, very impressive. Myles, very impressive. And it just kind of makes me think, will Oba wrestle at Worlds Collide? Will Oba, Judas Messias versus Oba is probably the match. He's probably not even in AAA. But where do we go with Oba? Who are we going to pit him up against? Because he's beaten pretty much everyone. Ricky, maybe the next big one. We never did the Trick one-on-one match. Yeah, that's long gone now. So
I liked the match. I didn't love the match. I thought the initial beatdown was a little uninteresting from Oba. I thought it could have been a bit more devastating and to build up for those hope spots. I think also a problem is I don't think we've really established a finishing move for Myles Borne. So
RKO.
But like, do you know what I mean? That doesn't help. Like when you're having, as you said, the SVB isn't a great move, but it's been established. So the crowd notice it as when that kick out, it's a bigger moment. And I think that would have helped the match a little bit. I like the story of it. I just think that there were moments where this was really hot, and then a couple of times it sort of dipped down for me. And but I like the idea of doing this. I think there's a lot you can do with the Myles Borne. He's a great guy to have on the roster, just so different. And Oba, I feel when you're ready to take this title off of him, you've got to move him away from being this tweener, leaning baby face, and you got to have him full on heel. I think when you finally got a full on dominating heel, maybe a year into his run, and I'd pick Javon Evans to be the one to finally beat him as a super baby face. I think the problem is like, and also this kind of maybe brings me down a little bit on this match. Everyone loves Oba Femi. You want to see Myles Borne win, but also Femi's really cool. So the dynamics there are not as hot as when you'd have like this super dominating heel monster against these underdog baby faces.
He's fun. Like everyone likes him. They like doing the chant. They like doing the walk. They like he's got the aura, if you will. So it's kind of hard now to have him. They tried to have him a heel, and it just was like, oh, even here, like he's supposed to be the heel, but we all still think he's pretty cool. I mean, you look at this guy; he's just a unit. Like, I didn't think this was my match of the night or anything, but I still like got into it, and I do see some fun stuff from both of these characters on NXT. But fun match, but maybe not quite where we got. And remember, he has to get revenge on the dude with the giant Dollarama chain, Castor Troy. Who's the guy?
Jasper Troy. From LFG. Yes.
So we'll maybe see that on NXT. They did promote that Jasper will be on Tuesday, so maybe Oba confronts him to be like, yo, why'd you attack?
We then have someone get a camera. Something's happening backstage as we see Stephanie arguing with the two AAA women. I've lost the names again. Tormenta and Denise, was it? Dalys. When JC Jane walks in and goes, "Hey, Steph," and gives her a huge slap. Slaps have not been banned in WWE, clearly. I don't know if you heard that they've been banned from TNA. So there's then a big
slaps are banned.
Slaps, yes, slaps.
What's Alicia Edwards gonna do now on TNA? Isn't
that... So then there's a big pull apart. I know you said you think Steph versus Tormenta. I see it being a 4-way with these four.
Okay. Yeah,
I think you're having both Dalys and Tormenta because they've only been tied to Steph on this show. So, and JC being in the mix, I would think we're getting a 4-way.
Yeah, I guess so. Fallon's had the matches with Stephanie and the opportunities and that title run. So maybe give JC something here.
We then go to our main event and we kick off with a video. Voiced over by AJ Styles, and it's talking about the history of TNA, and it's calling it an underdog promotion, but a launching pad to all these superstars. And you're seeing everyone who's still employed by WWE who've been TNA champions. So Penta, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, AJ Styles, the list goes on, but showing like it can be a real launching pad for these people to be TNA champion.
A really nice touch having AJ Styles be the voiceover for this. There is a little bit of some revisionist history here. Being the TNA head that I know, I recognize some of the clips are perfectly edited. AJ Styles' big first NWA world title run is used here because there's this big celebration. But before you could see him hold up the big gold, it cuts away to him when he won the TNA title. Just to maybe bring some people up to speed who might not be familiar, TNA in the heyday of your AJ Styles in the 2000s, they used the NWA title. They did not have a TNA World Heavyweight Championship until when NWA and TNA kind of had that full on like split and weren't working together is when TNA decided to make this own title. So the actual history of TNA, like the NWA Big Gold was the title that was defended for majority of like the good old days of AJ Styles. Yeah, he's won the TNA and all that, but it showed him.
Still, it's like being you're still the champion of this company, you know, even if the belt is branded differently.
I also like, I think this is really cool having AJ. Like, he's in WWE. You ask me, you ask most people, the Mr. TNA is AJ Styles. He was TNA. He was the guy there. And it was really special to have him kind of voice this, basically saying, here's all this history and we're about to sell the fuck out by giving it to the Fed. I also loved when it's a launching pad, it shows like the Machine Guns or Penta winning the title, or someone like trying to win back, you know, a second chance or something in the video, and then it shows Bully Ray winning the title.
Yes, yeah.
But I thought this was pretty cool. Shout out AJ Styles.
Yeah, it's saying all the qualities these champions have, and no one embodies it more than Joe. I love this. I thought it was great, and it's weird. Yes, by the end of the night, a WWE superstar has the TNA championship, but I think they've treated TNA with so much more respect than the previous era would have, or even AEW did during that run. You know, AEW were on TNA TV shitting on, it was tongue in cheek, but still shitting on TNA. There was never you never had the title really represented on AEW TV. You didn't really send many people down. I think this relationship just seems so much more like equal than it was before. Yeah, WWE are the bigger company. They're always going to be the bigger company, but I think it feels like they've been treating TNA with a lot more respect, in my opinion.
It's definitely a two-way street, because look, they have this video where it's AJ. It showed TNA footage. Like, for a long time, I was saying, when's WWE gonna just buy them? And now it's more than ever that like that's even more a possibility. The tape library, the history there. All the superstars that have gone through TNA are in WWE right now. So like, why not just own it? It's another step. I like AJ in the video saying TNA's always been the underdog promotion, and that's totally right. Like, even back in the 2000s, mid 2000s. It was totally that. It was something you would seek out if you weren't happy with the other product. And AJ, you know, you've made it to WWE. You've been WWE champion. You've been to the ball. You've been to the party. How about, instead of voicing videos for a TNA title match, why don't you go wrestle Billy? Why don't you go wrestle Kenny? End your career with some big bangers instead of voicing over. I'm being the devil's advocate, but
I thought you were saying he should have one more TNA championship run.
Fuck it, let's go. Yeah, why not that too? AJ, like, he keeps saying he wants to retire at 50. He's like 48 or something like. So it's like, we only got a few, and of course, wrestlers always like to not go back on that. But I'm joking. I would like to see those matches. But AJ voicing this thing was pretty cool.
The crowd are so loud at the beginning of this match. They are hyped for this. There's huge TNA chants. It was pretty awesome. I think this might be the loudest I can recall, like an NXT show being for
loudest TNA for sure. I mean, the TNA title getting the big crowd pop here. No Owls represented on this match. The crowd are really getting into this. The crowd here in Tampa are very supportive of WWE taking TNA's world title hostage into their company, and they were really about it. They were showing love for Joe Hendry, and they were showing love for Trick. So. Yeah.
We get chops from Hendry, sending Trick out the ring immediately. Hendry then leaps over the top rope, taking out Trick, delivers this delayed vertical suplex. Trick then hits the Joe Hendry fall-away slam with the kip up and mocks Joe with the pose. And
with a wink.
Yes. And Joe looks pissed off by this. He then hits a bookend for a 2, and Booker T is saying that he's been working with Trick on that bookend. Joe then hits a fall-away slam off the second rope. Almost missed this one. Didn't look the best. Trick comes back with a Booker T-esque scissor kick and then looks at Book. And then Book says, give it to him. And he puts the hand in front of his face. He does the pose and does the spinner Rooney, kind of nowhere near as good as Book's here, but
The Trickaroonie?
Trickaroonie.
I guess. Yeah. It wasn't quite who also was it the Undertaker who did a Spinaroonie before?
Undertaker, they tried to get him.
They tried to get him to do it, right? Yeah. It wasn't. I can't do it. It was pretty impressive. Trick knew. I guess he has been training with Booker, but
yeah. He then Trick then, as he's finished doing his Spinaroonie, turns right into a rock bottom from Hendry. Trick then delivers a Samoan driver for a new move for his arsenal there.
Either a Samoan driver or it because the history of TNA, he was hitting a cradle shock, Chris Sabin. Yeah.
Yes.
But cool move.
Joe is then sent into the ring steps, and the ref is checking on him. Looks like he hurt his knee. And this is where I actually agreed with Book, because Vic's like, oh, the ref stopped the count to just check on Joe there. And Book, and I've been saying this for years, he's like, no, if he's hurt, throw up the X, the match is over. Or you count until he can't get up. That's the rules of wrestling. What are you stopping the match to check on him? I agree, Book.
This is when Corey Graves is like, yeah, are we gonna see Chet Lemon and Black Snow make an appearance? His TNA commentary alter egos there. So Graves kind of showing some TNA love, but also being like, yo, Book, calm down.
This next bit, it looked like they had a little they were a bit weird on their positioning, got a little sloppy, and it led to this awful looking swinging neck breaker from Trick, where he just really didn't touch him at all.
This is one of my least favorite wrestling moves. Like, we've seen people do it and it's looked good. Dare I say, I remember Goldberg doing a similar looking one that actually looked good. But I mentioned I watch my Women of Wrestling, and one of the wrestlers featured a lot right now, Paola the Goat. It's her finishing move, and I don't think she ever actually hits anyone with anything. It just looks like you run around a person. I don't get it at all. It's one of my least favorite moves, and I'm not even sure what this neck breaker is called, but don't do it anymore. Anyone.
They bring it back. There's the fall away slow slam from Joe, and then a kip up, and does the pose, and then starts doing the Queen-esque "We Will Rock You, We Believe" stomps. Goes for the standing ovation, his big choke slam. But Trick flips over to counter it, but Joe catches him, hits the standing ovation, 1, 2, and Trick gets his foot on the ropes. Now Joe is looking at his hands. What do I do?
What do I do with my hands?
This kind of led to nowhere, because he's looking like, what do I have to do to beat this man? And then he sort of has an idea, gets Trick on his shoulders. However, Trick escapes and hits him with the Cyclone boot, and this is never really revisited in the match.
So he's going for the AA. He's doing the John Cena, like, you can't see me pose. And like, he's been very vocal on social media about trying to get a match with John Cena, especially on this last
this
thing.
Went
so
completely over my head.
I did understand what he was going for, and he goes for an attitude adjustment, but it's countered. So yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, I do. If you didn't necessarily he's been pushing for it on social media, but I don't think necessarily it didn't scream, oh, he's going for John Cena. Also, John Cena doesn't do the "you can't see me" before the AA anyways, but that's nitpicking.
Yeah, I just thought he was looking at his hands.
Just a bunch of dudes looking at their hands on this pay-per-view.
I also was wondering, I thought it looked more like the Booker T hand in front of the face. He
should have done. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we had just had Trick mocking him, I thought we were going that. But that went over my head, but that makes sense. So Trick escapes the apparent AA attempt, hits Joe with a Cyclone boot, and then
right in the head, really in the face, right in the side of the head. It looked like he clocked him.
And then Trick runs at him with a clothesline attempt, but Joe low bridges him, sending him to the floor. They're fighting on the outside, and Trick delivers a bookend off the steel steps through the announce table. This looked painful because this table didn't fully break, and he's just landing on the protective cover and the monitors. Throws him into the ring, delivers Trick shot, but Joe kicks out. And now Trick goes to the outside, grabs the TNA title, and the referee's pulling it off him. And as he pulls it off him, he gets rolled up by Joe for a 2 count. And then the standing ovation attempt, but Trick thumbs him in the eye and delivers a flapjack. And wouldn't you know it, Joe lands face first on the TNA title
Unlucky.
Yeah. Gets up and Trick comes in with trick shot and pins Joe Hendry 1, 2, 3 in 15 minutes and is your new TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
Making history, first ever WWE superstar, WWE NXT superstar to win a TNA title. While it's WWE's now. They stole it. They stole the title, and Trick is the TNA World Champion. Joe, how could you? You lost the title to a different company. This is like WWE is just going to take over your entire company now because you let them take the title. I think this is some interesting stuff working with TNA, allowing some of your wrestlers, just like a Trick, who the only criticisms people had, including us over the last year, is he didn't have his rounds in enough. He didn't get to the wrestling aspect of it was still missing. So here he is being featured as a champion for a different company, showing up in TNA. All of this stuff is ultimately good for him. And I guess good for TNA because some people didn't even know what TNA was or weren't watching. And now it's being incorporated in the synergy. And now with the AAA and the Worlds Collide, like it's all kind of like WWE is showing you there is other wrestling. They're allowed to speak about other wrestling now. So even though Joe won the title, this is the best thing for TNA because you're shining a light on TNA, the biggest light they've had in a long time. So I didn't necessarily love the match, to be honest. We kind of knew from the concerts this week that Joe was definitely dropping. He looked like he had a little bit of boo-boo face for this one, but it had its big moments. The crowd really helped by being into both characters, but I didn't necessarily love the in-ring stuff, but I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm not one of the people that will be interested in watching TNA going forward, but we teased the Santana stuff earlier. There's so many different avenues you could go with this, with a TNA or a WWE.
We should probably try to at least watch Trick's championship matches, right?
Absolutely. Go for it and enjoy yourself. But I do think this will be like the best thing for TNA, like this, mixing it up with their pay-per-views and their TV stuff and then kind of crossover promoting. Like we saw AEW do with it. We see AEW do with other companies, and it can work when you do cross promotion because it just makes people want to watch the other stuff. So as much as like I'm pretty anti TNA. I already watch a lot of wrestling.
I had no idea. Yeah.
But like it's still the best thing for them. So like good for that. But I guess there's going to be people who are like, oh, they lost. TNA gave them their title, this and that. But I didn't love this match. It's probably on the weaker of this whole PLE, but it's a cool moment to do this, I guess.
I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I think Trick, like we've been pretty negative on a lot of his big matches, and he has had some good ones. And Joe, I know he's very over. He's solid in ring, but not the most spectacular performer either. So kind of like an Ethan Page in a way, and I didn't really like those Ethan Page and Trick Williams matches. I enjoyed this more than that. I thought the atmosphere was great. I thought they built some good near falls towards the end. There was a couple of like sloppy moments here and there, but I enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to. And I think it's the right move, Trick being champion. I see maybe Joe eventually winning this back off him. I think the Santana match will be like a defense for Trick, but I don't necessarily see Santana beating Trick for the title. I think you have a little run with this, and then Joe can win it, maybe SummerSlam weekend or something like that, and get that win back. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say it was my favorite match on the show. I'd put it kind of middle of the pack. I really didn't like the D'Angelo match, and I was definitely lower on the Femi Myles Borne match than you were. But I didn't think this was bad. I thought this was one of Trick's better singles matches, let's say, because we have seen him in some pretty good multi-person matches.
That, like, I love Trick, and I want him to see do better, but that's a low bar. That is like, you're saying this is his best match, like, man.
Not his best. I mean, the Ilya match and the Pete Dunne match I put above, but all the others.
Like a year ago.
Yeah.
There's a whole other different administration. This match.
Like I enjoyed this more than the Mellow stuff. I enjoyed this more than the Ethan Page stuff. Like it's I thought he looked better here. I think he's added some more stuff to his arsenal, and I think he's becoming a bit more complete. I don't think he's ever going to be my favorite wrestler, but I got more out of him than I have in a lot of those other feuds. And maybe it's the fact that he's starting to lean heel that it's making him more interesting.
He's been saying Hollywood trick the last few weeks, and then when he won the title and he was handed it, he started doing the Hollywood Hulk Hogan guitar with the title. So I imagine he shows up to these TNA tapings and stuff, and then is the big baddie for TNA. Like, look, I stole your championship. Yeah. I stole this from you guys. And eventually, if you do a big TNA rematch where it's Joe versus Trick on a TNA show, I'm sure you would probably flip the title back to him or give Santana a challenge. And there's tons of other things, and it'll only help and bring interest to TNA and to whatever this is going on. I thought it was interesting that they made it the main event, but they treated it like it was a big deal, having a completely different company's world title being defended. So
it made sense by the end of the show. I think, especially with the title switch, it felt like they made it feel like a big deal. As much as I preferred the women's match over this, by the end of the night, I was like, yeah, that made sense. That's the image leaving, WWE guy with the TNA championship.
So I'm sure we're going to hear more from Trick, maybe Joe this Tuesday. They did promote some fallout from this show, as well as some matches, Ethan Page and Ricky Saints to come out of that as well. But overall, I'm thumbs in the middle for this show. There were two matches that really stuck out, and that were the women's matches. Soul and Kelani really went at it, and that was a fun opening hot match for the women's North American title. But the show stealer for me was definitely Stephanie Vaquer and Jordynne Grace, and everything else was okay, but nothing necessarily made me go, oh, what is this, or this is awful or anything. But it wasn't necessarily as of a home run as some of the other PLEs in the past. But again, Stephanie and Grace definitely made it worthwhile.
Yeah, love both women's matches. I really did not like D'Angelo and Stacks. I thought the rest was fun. I had fun with it, but it definitely isn't on the level of some of our other shows we've seen recently. So yeah, thumbs in the middle, leaning up slightly, but not a full thumbs up from me. Shall we go to some feedback?
Oh no, is someone gonna sprinkle in?
It's okay.
For
no, we're safe. We're safe.
I'm safe to go to the Facebook group. Don't mess.
Do you want me to just read both? I've just got just the comments section open. So starting with Magan, he says, let me highlight 4 women. Sol Ruca and Kelani Jordynne have grown significantly in the last 10 months. Their match was better than Heatwave. Zarya getting caught red-handed won't go unaddressed, and the best damn soul snatcher had me leaning forward. Dear God, did those two look fantastic. Stephanie Vaquer and Jordynne Grace, to no one's surprise, lit the place up. Jordynne kicking out of the SVB was massive, and I bet a rematch will happen. Plenty of Worlds Collide news with Dalys and Chik Tormenta showing up. The winner of Saints Page will go to the Forum to face a AAA talent. Mike Santana appearing was big, and the TNA NXT joint venture went next level when Trick became TNA World Champion. Slammiversary got its main event. I bet Joe will find his way in somehow. Very good show. And then we go to Manny from Pacoima, who says, a solid PLE. The women carried the show per usual. That Avalanche Soul Snatcher was a thing of beauty. With Stephanie retaining tonight and going off the poster WWE dropped, Stephanie will either team up with Lola to take on Dalys and Chik Tormenta or defend in a 4-way. Santana showing up also confirmed to me that Trick would win tonight. Santana is definitely going to be the one to dethrone Trick.
Nice. You got the second one there, or is that
was it?
That was it.
That was both. Yeah.
Thank you for writing in as always. We do have a Facebook page, Poisonrana on Facebook. You can give us a follow, and it will take you to the Poisonrana Facebook group. It's a little group where we post feedback threads every Tuesday after NXT. We'll read your comments just like we did there. So join the group. I know it'll ask you some questions. Lately, I've just been letting people in, but some people do know the answers. Ralph is the name of the raccoon. I can give you that one. And we like to pour one out when we lose people. So there, I just gave you the answers. And I think the other one is Paulie, Uncle Tony's uncle. So there you go. I gave you keys to the kingdom to join.
There's possibly still a Kona Reeves question in there somewhere from way back when. Yes.
Join the Facebook page. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all those things. Search Poisonrana Pod and give us a follow to keep updated with all the stuff that we do, all the content. We have lots of podcasts over on our Patreon and free feed and so much more. You can also go to poisonrana.ca for links of everything else that we do. And if you liked what you heard, you agree, disagree, give us a follow. Check out all the other shows. We do this every Tuesday here at Post Wrestling. We are your NXT friends, and we'll be your NXT friends forever and ever and ever. And we'll be back this Tuesday to talk all about some NXT at 10:05 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure John and Wai are still discussing anarchy in the arena and, I don't know, barefoot speedball, whatever it is they do over there in AEW. I'm going to go maybe put it on a little bit before I go to bed and try to finish it tomorrow. So I hope you avoid spoilers tomorrow somehow.
I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll be good.
No one's going to walk into the bar tomorrow and be like, did you?
It's what I am worried about is my one of the cooks at work who's a wrestling fan who I always have to tell. Like, I don't know. We've been doing this, 6-7 years. I've known him for that time, and he'll always say, hey, so what are you watching tonight? NXT, it's my job. And I said adamantly, no spoilers. I open my Instagram messages, and I see he sent 2 messages, and the second one says, sorry. I can only guess what that first message is, but I am not opening the message until tomorrow night. Yeah, he has to. He's the one that often spoils me on stuff, despite me going like, hey, I'm working, so I can't watch this, you know? I'll be like, oh, yeah, man, but I can't believe this guy won. No spoilers.
Well, I'll go read all the comments in the chat that were probably people shitting on us during this whole show. But appreciate it if you made it this far. Appreciate all the postmarks and NXT friends out there. Again, we are on all the socials. Check out The Champ is Here, episode 9. We've been doing a podcast per month following every John Cena world title win and reign. And we've had some great guests. Some of the episodes are available for free on our free feed, as well as this free feed as well, Post Wrestling. But we're going to be joined by Benno and Hamflet to talk all about John Cena's 9th title reign. And I'm very excited to talk to these 2 lads. We're going to have some laughs, I'm sure. We're going to have some fun times as we talk about John Cena. But we also do different movie reviews as well. We recently reviewed Big Trouble in Little China as selected by our world champ family member patron, Sunil. Some of our patrons pick stuff and we talk about it, whether it's wrestling or movies. Because of the new Final Destination movie, Bloodlines, put your ones up. We recently reviewed the original Final Destination for the first time. I watched this movie featuring Stifler and plane crashes, and we're all over the place on the Poisonrana Patreon, whether it's wrestling, movies, and so much more. So check us out. We have a Spotify link where it shows all the shows that we have on our Patreon. It connects to your RSS feed and all that stuff. So patreon.com/Poisonrana, $5 to become a friend, and appreciate everyone out there. Can't do this without our listeners, and we hope you had a nice weekend full of wrestling, and the wrestling never stops. Never.
That is right. We'll catch you on Tuesday.
That is it. That is all at Poisonrana Pod. Take care. Goodbye. Be safe. And I don't know what to do with my hands.
Ahoy!